Now, let's start with the battle for control of the Senate, and the man at the center of the story, Republican Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell, simultaneously trying to save his job and become the Senate Majority Leader. He spoke this afternoon alongside Rand Paul at a rally in Kentucky.
Victory is in the air. We're going to bring it home tomorrow night. After 6 years of borrowing and spending and taxing and regulation, these people need to be stopped, and it starts tomorrow night.
Fired up and ready to go. All right, let's take a look at the last round of media polls that have helped determine Senator McConnell's fate in Kentucky and McConnell's race. Last 24 hours, a Marist poll shows McConnell ahead comfortably in this poll, 50-41 against Allison Lundgren Grimes. Another poll Republicans seem pretty happy with in Colorado, Cory Gardner with a 2-point lead over a Democratic incumbent, Mark Udall. Closer than some races, but in that Quinnipiac poll, Gardner still holding his lead. And then in the Georgia Senate race, David Perdue, the Republican, still ahead in this poll by NBC and Marist, 4 points ahead of Michelle Nunn with the Libertarian candidate Amanda Swafford at 3%.
So those are all pretty good for Republicans as far as I can see, but it's not all good news for Republicans. There's also some good news for Democrats in 3 of the closing polls. If you shift over here, you look first at that Iowa Senate poll. That's a Quinnipiac poll that has Bruce Braley and Joni Ernst tied at 47-47. The reason that's such good news for Braley is that the Iowa poll done by our partners at the Des Moines Register over the weekend put Ernst ahead by 7 points. That poll, of course, is the gold standard of polling, so we have placed a lot of faith in it. But this one out today puts Braley up at a dead heat with Ernst. Okay, in New Hampshire in the Senate race, you've got Jean Shaheen, the incumbent Democrat, up by 3 points over Scott Brown. That's pretty much consistent. That's a University of New Hampshire WMER poll. It's pretty consistent with a lot of the public polling that we've seen over the last few months. And then finally, in the Louisiana Senate race, you've got the incumbent Mary Landrieu at 44, her main Republican challenger, Bill Cassidy, at 36%, and Rob Maness at 15%. That's an NBC Marist poll. Puts Mary Landrieu in a pretty good position, at least to push this into the midterms, or into an overtime runoff race. So here's the question, Mark. If you look at all this polling, does all of this collectively suggest that either party has the big mo?
Doesn't feel from the data, the last round of data, there's any surge anywhere, but it does suggest Republicans are in a decent position, but not turning around the race in some dramatic way.
Right. I mean, we're going to get to this a little later about the possible scenarios for Democrats holding on, but, it really is kind of a jumble, and there's, everything is, you're going through that normal tightening at the very end, but both parties, it seems to me, can find some comfort in this polling that we're not seeing a big wave election.
We call it in political science a mixed bag.
Indeed. All right. Having launched this show exactly a month ago, we're already getting greedy for more airtime, so we've decided to produce another one. This new show is called When Surrogates Go Bad. Here's the pilot. Can you guess the surrogate who had Bruce Braley in Iowa saying, "I knew you were trouble" when you walked in?
And there's sort of this sense that, well, I heard someone say, well, Joni Ernst, she's really attractive. And she sounds nice. Well, I got to thinking about that. I don't care if she's as good looking as Taylor Swift or as nice as Mr. Rogers. But if she votes like Michelle Bachmann, she's wrong for the state of Iowa.
Okay, just in case anybody doesn't know that when you're in trouble walked in line, that's a Taylor Swift line. That's where we put that in there. Okay. Now, if our brand new TV series gets picked up, we've already got a second episode that's ready to go. Here's a sneak peek, which was shot just today.
Senator, would you like to apologize?
Hi, Garrett.
Would you like
a good night's sleep? You should join a union.
I did. Would you like to apologize to Senator Ernst?
Senator Harkin there not wanting to apologize, at least in that moment, but a little bit later today, Harkin thought better of his non-response and sent us this statement. Quote, "I shouldn't have said those things. I know that. I regret any time someone feels offended by what I have said. I am only human, and I can make mistakes sometimes in how I say something. In fact, I have complimented her on running a very good campaign." All right, Mark, I'm going to put it to you bluntly. This, some other examples, are Democrats this close to Election Day losing it?
Well, you take what Senator Harkin said, pretty experienced senator and politician, and you take what Mary Landrieu said about race and gender in her state, and I think it wouldn't take Joyce Brothers or a genius, Dr. Phil, to say,
and those are two giants of psychoanalysis, God knows.
Democrats may be feeling a little pressure here at the end because that's the kind of mistake you make when you're tired and when you're under pressure. I think Senator Harkin really wants his seat to go to the Democrats. Bruce Braley has not run the best campaign. And Joni Ernst, she's not been absolutely Teflon, but she has withstood a lot of attacks, and I think Senator Harkin probably there a little bit frustrated. Surprised it took him almost an entire news cycle to apologize.
Yeah, that I'm surprised about. You've got to, one thing we know about covering politics, after covering politics for a long time, is that the biggest thing that causes unforced errors is lack of sleep. And these candidates are all really tired at the end. That's why we're both going to be sleeping about 14 hours tonight so that we're well rested for tomorrow night. You can excuse it as a slip of the tongue, not something that Bruce Braley is very happy about, I'm sure, today, because you don't want to see your opponent getting a talking point just 24 hours out before.
All right, one more thing on the Senate, and it's a big one. If you're a daily subscriber to conventional wisdom, you probably think Republicans are going to win the Senate tomorrow. In fact, you might think that outcome is a freaking mortal lock. But with just about 24 hours to go before the polls start to close, we've got another possibility presented for your consideration. The Democrats can, in fact, hold on. All they need to do is win a handful of states that appear to be within their reach now. So let's run through this scenario. Democrats lose seats they hold now in Montana, South Dakota, and West Virginia, all with incumbents who are leaving. Let's say Democrats hold on in New Hampshire and North Carolina. Those are two states with incumbent senators who've not been behind in any public polling. Then, again, for the sake of this scenario, let's say Democrats win Georgia either in the runoff or maybe Michelle Nunn finds her way to 50 tomorrow night. And then finally, let's say Orman, the independent in Kansas, wins and caucuses with the Democrats. That would mean for Republicans to get the majority, they would need to run the table on all the remaining competitive races: Iowa, Arkansas, Louisiana, Colorado, and Alaska. Now, John, there's a lot of assumptions in there, but how realistic is that scenario for Democrats to keep control?
It is a long shot, that scenario, but it's not a no shot. And, you think about how close these races are. There's enough in that scenario that's plausible, and then enough that's kind of vaguely plausible that if you're a guy like Guy Cecil, you can at least get some kind of sleep tonight before Election Day.
I mean, look, I wouldn't be surprised if they won New Hampshire and North Carolina.
No, not at all.
Georgia, I wouldn't be shocked. Michelle Nunn's been a strong candidate.
Very unlikely that she's going to win it outright tomorrow.
Kansas, a lot of Republicans think that Democrats are going to win there.
Right.
And then can they pick off one of the other states? They could pick off Alaska. No one really has a great sense of what's going on there. Could they win a runoff in Louisiana? I think they could. And even Colorado, not out of the reach. So.
Again, if you believe the polling from today, both Colorado and Iowa both in reach. So, again, no doubt Republicans have the upper hand here. But Democrats have enough pathways to hold on that you could easily see them holding on by the end of the night.